I stand before you to officially open this conference. I have a speech to read, but in the interest of time, I'll paraphrase it in the best way I can. This region of northern Kenya was in colonial days called NFD, Northern Frontier Districts, where the colonial regime used to use it for playing their military tactics. They could declare the region closed and come in and brutalize our people as much as they wish, and then open it up again. For many years, Kenyans from the lower parts of the country used to feel punished whenever they were posted to work in these regions. For many years, people in this region used to say, we are coming from Mandera, we are going to Kenya, when they are going to Nairobi. I started coming to this region in 1983. And for those of you young members, I have traveled by road from Nairobi to Mandera, not once, not twice. I've traveled by road from Nairobi to Moyale, not once, not twice. As a young lawyer once, I went to a court in Mandera. And this explains the prejudice that you have suffered for many years. First, the government had no time to send magistrates who are trained. The DCs were the magistrates. So I came to defend a man who had been falsely framed for killing another. And we were before a DC as a magistrate in Mandera. So as a young lawyer, I was very spiritedly asking very incisive questions to get my client acquitted, because I was convinced that he was innocent. But the district commissioner magistrate told me, wakili, maliza maswali yako haraka tufunge huyu mtu si twende. So those are the prejudices that we have suffered in this region all the years. Of course, they jailed him, and I had to go and swear an affidavit and recite what he told me to use it to get the man out. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank you for inviting me to this conference, where you are going to discuss major issues with the theme unlocking the policy and financing bottlenecks to maximize pastoralism potential in Kenya. This region, or regions of pastoralists, I also see people here who don't come from strictly pastoralist areas, but perhaps because of a history of livestock keeping, they also call themselves pastoralists. But we must have one theme to focus on how to move forward. I asked my good friend McClap, when I found him here, I asked him whether kazi yeye ni mfugaji au ni mtu wa kuangaisha wafugaji. And when Dido Raso spoke here and said, hii shamba ya Wajia ni shamba ya Waborana, I told my friend Governor Ahmed, there goes your unity. We must put our past behind us and look to the future. Because our Constitution says we are a unitary state with two systems of government, dependent and interdependent. So yale ya nyuma tuyaache, tuangalie mbele. And as you meet here in this conference, I want to encourage you to focus on 4 or 5 things. Number 1, livestock production. I think Mama Sangaire spoke here. You produce over 80% of the livestock in the country. Populations grow day and night. Meat eating grows in tandem with those populations in Kenya and elsewhere. We have countries like Botswana that rely on their economy on only 2 things, diamonds and livestock. And we can also do the same in Kenya. So as you sit here, focus on improving breed quality, disease control, marketing, value addition, and money in your pockets. Because there's no point for you to keep cattle, we slaughter, and then we send our hides and skins to China, and later buy shoes and leather bags from China. We can add value to everything on our livestock to take to the international market. And being members of parliament under the new constitution, as Kainan said, is a revolution. You can design policy, you can legislate, you can appropriate resources, and you turn around to audit the use of those resources. So you can be able to ensure that to achieve our dream of the value chain in livestock is in your hands. And as your speaker, I'll work with you on this. The second issue that I would encourage you to focus on is infrastructure. I've told you I traveled to Mandera by road. I first came to this city of Wajir in 1985 with my friend, the late Khalif. I was his lawyer, and the late Abdi Ogle. He used to be the national treasurer of Kanu. I used to come here to represent their supporters. And those days, Wajir was a very small market. It was just a Munada market for livestock sales. And today, if you come to Wajir, even if you are doubting Thomas, you will appreciate that devolution works. I have seen towns like Wajir, like Marsabit, like Isiolo, like Mandera blossom because of devolution. So as the National Assembly, we will work hand in hand with the Senate and all agencies of government to support devolution to the hilt. And in doing so, you then must come out with a blueprint from here. I know there is a road that has been to be constructed from a place called Kulamawe to Garissa. We need many more roads in this region, tarmac roads, to open up Kerio Valley, to open up Baringo, to open up Samburu, to open up Laikipia, to open up Isiolo, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, so that we can be able to develop and realize the potential of our economical activities. In the Kibaki Vision 2030, those of you who are there remember, we had cited several places for satellite modern cities, Isiolo, Lake Turkana, Lamu, all these are in the Asar regions, where instead of going to Dubai and going to Doha, wherever, you can go to any of these cities and enjoy exactly the same ambience, the same climatical conditions, the same heat, the same sunshine, the same everything that you get out there. If you focus on that and we realize that dream alongside infrastructure and provision of water, I don't see why not. Martin Shikuku used to say, even if these areas like Wajir County, for example, you have no lake, you have no permanent river, you don't have to cry about that. We have Lake Victoria, the second largest freshwater lake in the world. And if you can pipe gas from Moscow to Paris, you surely can pipe water from Lake Victoria to Wajir and use it for both food production, livestock production, and human use. So wabunge, kazi kwenu. Start thinking about that, and we'll work together in that journey. Alongside infrastructure will be trade. Ali Mazuri once lamented that in Africa, we consume what we don't produce and produce what we don't consume. If we focus on value addition on our products, you know, Kenyans will be very happy to walk into Carrefour supermarket and buy corned beef, corned in UK, but the cow was produced in Wajir. You go there and pick Del Monte fruits in cans, grown in Thika, canned in Chile, back to us. So let's learn how to develop our own trade activities to grow our economy. And as you said, you are over 70% of Kenya. You have it in your hands. We will work with you. The third issue I want to point out is insecurity. If there is no security, you will not realize any development. If there's no security, nobody is safe. Our women are not safe, our children are not safe, even our herders are not safe. You go to Kerio Valley, it's a battle ground for bandits. You go to Baringo, we have flown with Maclap over Baringo, and you can fly for about 10 minutes in a chopper and all you see are ashes of burned villages. People have moved. You go to Boni Forest in Lamu, same thing. Until we have our security architecture in place, even the development we are looking for will continue getting challenges. So as members of parliament from this region, again, you have expanded the use of your money in CDF. You can build police stations, you can build security infrastructure, collaborate with the national government. Where you need my help, I'm available, so that we can secure our regions to the best way possible and flush out criminal elements and bandits that make it difficult for Wananchi to live in peace. When we were in the Kibaki government with Mzee late Yusuf Haji, Mzee Kibaki tasked us to develop a policy on how to deal with border security. And we came up with a blueprint that right along the Turkana border, Somali border, Ethiopia border, we have an average of a police installation every 50 kilometers, linked with good roads for quick movement, resourced with good human resource to detect any wrong elements in order to be able to detect and suppress and disrupt security challenges. That need is as good then as it is today. And as members of parliament, again, we'll work together to realize this as and when you put it on the front burner. I encourage you to realize that as many of us live in Nairobi, which also has its own security challenges, there is a bigger challenge out here. I know many members of parliament in some regions who can't go home unless they're accompanied by a platoon of policemen. Or you go home, you work, but you can't sleep in your house, you have to run to town because of security. So if we can be able to work on the security issue, our challenges will be minimized. The fourth issue I would want to encourage you to focus on is the agrarian reforms that we require. Our new constitution defines land as a tool of production. Whether it's in the so-called high potential areas with the long, heavy rains, like where I come from, in the western region where I come from, for the last 2 years, the rains have not stopped. It rains almost every second, third day. Land in this region is as productive as land elsewhere. You have more mineral resources. You have more potential for livestock development. And you have to keep deciding whether you will embrace community land ownership as is provided in the Constitution, individual land ownership as is provided in the Constitution, or a free-for-all that is a source of conflicts. So I want to urge my brothers, the governors. Unfortunately, this region has not produced any woman governor. I want to encourage my brothers, the governors, that land under the Constitution is largely under your jurisdiction. We in the National Assembly and in the Senate will be very ready to translate and transform whatever policy decisions you engineer to legislation to help you manage your land better, to reduce conflict born out of land use, because land is shrinking as populations grow. When you have large numbers of livestock, you need much larger areas to graze. When you have to move with your cattle to other regions, you get resistance, like I see camels in Kitui, camels in Tana River, and the noises that keep coming out. What we need to do is to sit down and see, with these vast tracts of land, how do we leverage on this, reduce conflicts, make everybody comfortable, make everybody benefiting from this land, so that we can be able to move forward as a country. So as my MPs from these ASALs and pastoralists, I encourage you again to look at those things. The fifth issue I would want to encourage you to look at as members of this region is to see yourselves as part of the big family called Kenya. I come from Bungoma. I grew up in the hands of a Somali woman called Mama Hirsi. She's an Isaac, for those of you who are Somalis. And she's a very, very successful business person in Bungoma. If you come to Bungoma, that big town is more than half real estate owned by Mama Hirsi and her children. And we are very proud of her. She's one of us. So let's embrace each other. Last time I came here for a political rally to decampaign my friend Ahmed, because we had our own candidate. We were carried on borders in town here by boys from Kitui, others from Western. That is the Kenya we want.